Good morning. It's an exciting week at UCF. I was on the campus yesterday and had the opportunity to see many of you walking around campus with family and friends in your cap and gowns and taking pictures a lot by the fountain, some of you actually in the fountain. But it's an exciting week. And, decades from now, as you look back on your life, you'll look back and there'll be a handful of days and weeks that you really remember, and this will be one of them. So congratulations and enjoy your significant accomplishment. Dr. Seymour, my fellow trustees, graduates, and all the UCF community, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with you this morning and share a few thoughts. I grew up and spent most of my adult life about 2.5 hours south of here in a beautiful area called Palm Beach County. Palm Beach County in the house. And if you know much about Palm Beach County, you're probably familiar with the inlet area. It's really a spectacular part of the county. And as you come in the inlet from the ocean, you come in, you look to your left, and there's Palm Beach. That's where the rich and famous live. You look to your right, there's Singer Island. That's where the very fortunate and tourists reside. And as you come in and you enter into the intercoastal waterway, there's an island there called Peanut Island. And if you've ever spent any time on Peanut Island, you know how fun it is. Our family used to spend a lot of time there when we lived in Palm Beach County. And it's just a beautiful area. It's crystal clear water where you can snorkel, you can hike around the island, or just relax with your family and friends and enjoy time on the sandbars nearby. But right behind Peanut Island is the Port of Palm Beach. And the Port of Palm Beach has got big freighters that come in and out. And every once in a while, when you're there relaxing on Peanut Island, one of these big freighters will come out of the port and it'll go by the island and go out the inlet out to sea. And it's actually sort of part of the charm, at least from my perspective, part of the charm of being there, seeing the big freighter go out. And when that freighter goes out the inlet, that captain's got a choice to make. That captain can take the wheel of that ship and he can turn it a little bit to the right and he'll set that ship off on a course that'll take it down the coast of South America towards the southern tip of Africa. And if that captain takes that wheel and turns it a little bit to the left, the captain will set that ship off on a course that'll take it up to Northern Europe. And graduates, that's a lot where you are today. You're like that big ship and you're going out the inlet and you've got a lot of choices to make. And they're choices that may seem really small at the time, but are gonna have a really big impact on the trajectory of your life. So I'd like to talk about, for a couple of minutes, one of those choices. Certainly one of the most important choices you'll make, and you may not even realize you're making it. It's a choice of whether you're going to leave here today as a knower or you're going to leave here today as a learner. And there's a big difference between the two. Knowers tend to be a little satisfied. They trust that their education and experience has prepared them for everything that they need to know and everything they need to do, prepared them for their worldview. And they tend to, if they read, read things that confirm what they already believe. Knowers tend to watch news stations that are consistent with their political views, and they tend to hang around people that think a lot like them. Those are knowers. Learners, though, are a little different. Learners like having their thoughts challenged. They like getting outside of their comfort zone. They like reading things that are contrary to their current way of thinking. Knowers like hanging out with people that'll change their thought process. And so there's a big difference between knowers and learners. Learners are always looking to grow and excel and expand their thinking. Learners change the world. It's more comfortable to be a knower, but learners change the world because they're always looking to expand their thinking and always looking to get better. Let me give you a short story that I think sort of captures this. It's about a young boy that grew up in a very, very poor family. And he was 9 years old and his mother passed away. It was a very unfortunate situation. And what made it even worse was at 9 years old, after his mother passed away, his father abandoned him and his little sister. And so the two of them were left to live on their own. They lived in this dirt floor shack and really just feral kids for several months, scrounging food wherever they could find it. Not taking baths for several months until the father came back. But the father came back with a new wife and came back to the little boy. And the new wife took an interest in the little boy and really loved him as her own. and started to plant in that little boy a passion to learn. And that passion, though, to learn wasn't really liked very much by the dad. The dad thought, no, you need to focus on learning how to farm and work, and that you don't need those books. You don't need to learn. But the little boy had a passion for learning, and as he was working on the farm and growing up, every chance he could, he'd read, and he'd be reading books on breaks, and other farm hands he would read to, and he would just try to continue to fill this passion for learning and growing. The father didn't like this, would tear up his books, tell him, you don't need to do that. And eventually, when the young man got into his early 20s, he left home and went to another community. He got to the other community and became known as a learner there. He got a job in a store, and he was working in the store, and on breaks or when he's waiting for customers, he'd always be known to be reading. And people would tell him about a book that was maybe 10 miles away, and he'd walk 10 miles to get that book and come back and read it. He decided he wanted to be his community surveyor. But he didn't know math. He couldn't do surveying, so he taught himself math. He decided he wanted to be an attorney, but he didn't know law, so he taught himself law and became an attorney that traveled around the state representing his clients. This learner eventually became the president of the United States. But even when he became president, he liked different perspectives and he liked seeing different views. So he did something that maybe had never been done before and maybe never done again. He asked his chief political opponents to be in the key positions in his cabinet. In fact, there's a great book written about it called Team of Rivals. And so that president ended up leading our country through its darkest days. And today we have a huge monument in Washington, D.C. to celebrate his life. By now you probably know I'm talking about Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was a learner, and that passion for learning took him from that little boy who was abandoned at 9 years old and led him to lead our country through its darkest days. Now let me tell you something as I wrap up, something that sounds a little weird. You today, as a graduate of UCF, you're ahead of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln never had an opportunity to get a degree from a world-class university like you have. You're ahead of him. So what matters is not what the degree you're getting today. It's a great accomplishment, and you should be proud of it. But what really is going to impact your life trajectory is what you do starting tomorrow. Are you going to go through life as a knower or a learner? And I just encourage you, don't see this as the end. See this as the beginning. Go through your life as a learner. Now it's time for you to graduate, so I'll leave you with three things. Be a learner, change the world, and go Knights. Thank you very much.